Shawyn, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Shawyn is a candidate for mayor in the city of Mount Vernon, but she works in Yonkers.
Mhm.
Shawyn, tell us a little bit about you. For those that don't know, even though I think everybody knows you, everybody knows you.
No, I don't think everyone knows me.
Those that matter know you.
Oh, well, everyone matters.
There you
Everyone
go.
matters. Everyone matters.
That's it. So tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. My name is Shawyn Patterson Howard, born and raised in the city of Mount Vernon. Our hospital does not deliver babies, and so I'm, proudly born in Mount Vernon Hospital. That's something I can say that shows my longevity in the community. I'm a fourth generation resident of Mount Vernon, educated in our public school system, graduated from Mount Vernon High School. I've been a human services administrator for about 15 years, and then I've also been a business and executive leader for the second half of my career for 15 years.
And why are you running? Why did you decide to run?
Well, I decided to run. I've been very frustrated with the direction of our city for about the past 20 years. We sit in Mount Vernon and we see incredible progress happening in New Rochelle and Yonkers and White Plains. And Mount Vernon has not kept pace with economic growth, with advances in technology, with city services, with the efficiencies and business of government, and also even in community safety and human services programs. We feel like we're really lagging behind and that the residents of Mount Vernon deserve something more.
Shawyn, Mount Vernon is, right now it's in a crisis.
It's in a crisis.
Okay, maybe it's not a declared crisis, but it is in a crisis, and the people of Mount Vernon knows this.
Yes.
What would you do different, not to be in the position that Mount Vernon is today?
Well, we're in the position that we're in, and so the question is, how are we going to get out of it? We're where we are. We are in a crisis financially, socially, culturally. Mount Vernon is in crisis. Economically, Mount Vernon is in crisis. And so what would I do to get us out of this situation?
What I would say, my question is, how would you have prevented for Mount Vernon to be in the crisis that it is today?
Well, one of the biggest reasons Mount Vernon is in a crisis today is lack of vision, lack of execution of plans. Mount Vernon has not had a comprehensive plan or a capital development plan. Comprehensive plan, no plan in 50 years. Capital development plan, no plan in the last 10 years. And our elected officials are so busy fighting that we're losing the focus of the work of government and serving the community of Mount Vernon. So a lot of what I would have focused on is planning and working with fellow legislators and community leaders to make sure that Mount Vernon had a plan and that we were executing a plan.
Now, you mentioned elected officials, plural.
Plural.
Exactly. So you think why those branches of government in the city of Mount Vernon, why are they fighting? Who is suffering?
Oh, the community is suffering. The community of Mount Vernon, the residents, the taxpayers, the youth, the seniors, and the stakeholders of Mount Vernon are being held hostage to political gains and fighting and wars amongst elected officials. It is the people of Mount Vernon who are suffering.
Now, how would you deal with it? If you become the mayor,
Yes.
and you have the council president and the council body against you, how would you face a situation like this when they cannot get along to work for the people, for those that voted them in? What's the formula? How would you handle it?
Well, first you have to sit down at the table of negotiation. And honestly, I don't think that is something that's happened with full sincerity. People had differences and they dug into their corners and oftentimes doubled down. There were times that the mayor doubled down on his position and didn't work with the council. There are times that the council may have been unwilling to work with the mayor. I don't think it's one-sided. I don't think that anyone's a victim, but the result is that Mount Vernon has become politically stagnant and our community is in crisis.
I would disagree with you in one thing. There is no victim. There is a victim.
The community.
The community.
That's what I said. The only victim is the residents, the community of Mount Vernon.
Correct. But there is good stuff going on in Mount Vernon as well. Is there anything that you think it's good that it's going on now in Mount Vernon?
A lot of it is overshadowed by the politics. I mean, you have to dig down. As I've walked around and I've shaken thousands of hands and talked to literally thousands of residents in the last 6 weeks, it's very hard for them to find the positive that's going on in Mount Vernon. We might have an activity or a special event, and those things are nice. Special events are nice. Pop-up barbecues are nice. Parades are nice. Special events are nice, but they don't improve the quality of life. They do not improve the economics of our community, and they don't do anything to change us in a way that's sustainable, that's ongoing. They're nice for the moment, but they do not change the direction of our community. So we have great activities going on, and those are nice to celebrate, but I don't see anything happening right now that is changing the trajectory of Mount Vernon, and that's what we need. Not activities, but an action plan.
Activities are nice, but not enough.
Not enough.
If I am a voter, but undecided, should I vote for a candidate A, B, or C? You being A or B or whatever.
Well, of course I'm going to say A.
But the question is not it. The question is not which candidate are you, but why should I vote for the candidate A, which is you? What differs you from the others?
What differentiates me from the others? As I said in my opening, my first 15 years of my professional career really was focused on dealing with the very deep, very real social challenges in Mount Vernon. Health issues, mental health, substance abuse, community safety, alternatives to incarceration, prison reentry. These are things that Mount Vernon has been challenged with for decades, homelessness, and they're all still very relevant issues today. And so we put together systems of service in dealing with the poverty. And so I think I'm unmatched, honestly, when it comes to an understanding of the systemic social and cultural issues that Mount Vernon is challenged with. And I have the relationships and the connections and the understanding of those social issues to work with and lead a team of commissioners and staff and our partners, business, faith, not-for-profit, and civic, in addressing those issues. Secondly, as a executive director as well as a chief executive officer, I have the business skills and competencies to deal with our financial challenges. I manage a budget. And I manage a budget. I have to create a budget. I have to monitor a budget. And I have to stick to a budget. And when we're challenged with resources, I work with a team to find more resources. I know how to make the necessary cuts when it comes to spending, and I also know how to find additional resources. So that's financial management. When we're looking at staff development, as a CEO, I hire, I train along with my team. We manage staff, we develop staff. Too many of our Mount Vernon employees have been hired and they're held accountable to do work that oftentimes they're not trained for, and they don't receive updates. We don't have a comprehensive training program for the staff of Mount Vernon, and we never have. Our human resources department has been sorely lacking, and so we hold staff accountable for things that we haven't trained them in. Mount Vernon has not invested in its workforce. That's another thing that I have to do as a leader. I mean, I can speak to some other things, but we want to keep the answer short. Do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, well, I have another question. You work for the current administration.
I did, for 8 months.
For 8 months. You want to tell us why you left?
Oh, why did I leave?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we had differences in opinion, ongoing on how certain things should be done. I believe that you should do the right thing for the right reason, the right way. You can't make arbitrary decisions, and we can't stumble at our destination. It has to be well thought, well planned, and well executed. And we're very different. I'm not impetuous. I don't jump to conclusions, and I don't move unnecessarily. Secondly, I responded to a federal subpoena that I was supposed to respond to. And because it was a former boss, I recused myself. I stepped back and I allowed our compliance officer to respond to it. And it was sent in. And that is my job. If I receive a federal subpoena, it is my responsibility to respond to it. The Urban Renewal Agency is a municipal authority, not a city department. And we, inside of the Urban Renewal Agency, were served with a subpoena. We answered it, we sent it in, we gave the city opportunity to read it and respond to it, and they did not do so.
What are you suggesting? Are you suggesting that the current mayor or administration did not want you to respond to the subpoena?
I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that I did respond to a subpoena and we sent it in. That's the bottom line. But then 3 days later, I was offered my position back and asked to come back. We did not do that.
Okay. And, but you're saying that there were differences between you and the mayor. Mm-hmm. My understanding is that you know the mayor.
I've known him since he was 14.
Exactly, since 16 years. Yes. So you both knew each other. I would think that the reason why he invited you, mm-hmm. first because you are a brilliant woman.
Absolutely.
Okay, and because he knew you could do the job.
Yes.
And you knew the mayor as well. So 14 years since he was a young boy. Mm-hmm. So how come now you're telling me that differences? You both did not know each other, how each other operated?
Well, no, there's a difference between dating someone and being married to them. I knew him. I was his mentor as a teen growing up, and maybe even through his college days. We stayed in communication on a regular basis as he was doing his job, but we've never worked together. And there's a difference when you become in much closer contact. And then there were other people that had great influence on him, and we had a different moral compass. Bottom line, I operate also out of a very strict moral code of integrity, and I refuse to do business outside of integrity. And the only thing you can walk in a room with is your name and your integrity. And the only thing you walk out of a room with is your name and integrity. And when I realized that our moral codes and our moral compass were very different, I knew that it would not work. As much as I loved Mount Vernon, and as much as I wanted to serve my community, I could not do it in an environment that was not morally, ethically sound.
Now let me ask you something. This question is a question that actually comes from some of your critics. Mm-hmm. You know who Joe Spicio is, and do you have any connection with Mr. Spicio?
Yes, I know who Joe Spicio is. Joe Spicio, when I arrived at the YMCA in November of 2008, was a board member at the YMCA already.
Mount Vernon?
No, in Yonkers.
Okay.
I mean, Joe Spicio was a businessman in Yonkers for a long time. So he was on the board of the YMCA in Yonkers. He was not a very active board member. Many of my critics have also said that Mr. Spicio is a resident of Florida, or Mr. Spicio, and so how can you say he's a resident of Florida, but yet he was at the YMCA dictating to me my job every day? Mr. Spicio, like board members of many not-for-profit organizations, especially small ones like the Y, when I got there was a $1.5 million budget. So he was not very involved at all. His attendance was rare, as he did live out of state and he did business out of state.
Well, the reason I'm asking is probably, you know,
absolutely.
Some people are saying that he pulls the strings or controls. I just want you to make it clear one way or the other.
Absolutely.
That's the
Mr. Spicio did not pull my strings at the Y, nor did he pull my strings when I came to work in the city of Mount Vernon. And if I allowed myself to be a puppet of Mr. Spezio, I'd probably still be working for the city. But I'm an independent thinker. I'm a person who makes sound business decisions, and I operate, like I said, with a strict moral code of integrity. And so we didn't operate in the same fashion, and thus I am not there. There are people who are invested in creating that narrative because I'm a strong candidate and because I do have a lot of respect and regard. And so in politics, people have to dirty and sully your name to give themselves a strategic advantage. But my thing is this, I said I'm gonna run a clean campaign. I'm gonna focus on my strengths. I don't need to focus on your deficits or to make up lies about you, because that's cowardice. And if you can't lead a community in integrity and be direct, and you're a coward and you use lies and false accusations, how can you lead a city?
Well, that was going to be my next question, because I spoke with you, I think, about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And you said exactly that. Let's run a clean campaign based on facts, policies, platforms, moral compass, and let people decide who is the best person. And this is why we're here. We're here not because we sponsor or we endorse or we ask you to vote for this candidate or that candidate. The only interest that we have is to inform you, let you know where the candidates stand, and you decide who to cast your vote for. That's
So this is, I have a question for you.
for me.
For you.
We're not going to change things because I'm the one asking the question.
Well, it could be hypothetical. How about the hypothetical
Well,
question?
let's see.
If I wasn't such a strong candidate, do you think there would be such an outright attack against who I am?
Well,
Have you seen anyone else attacked in the past 5 weeks to the level that you've seen me attacked?
Well, I have seen you attacked, and I agree with you, because when you are of non-importance, when you're not challenging anyone, the attacks don't happen because it don't matter. When there is too much emphasis on somebody, it's because that person matters.
And that is one of the things that I need to say to the people. We have incredible momentum. We've heard throughout the city and throughout the county that my name is being spoken of and being spoken of well. I have over 30 years of solid business and community leadership, also as a faith leader in Westchester, 30 years. My record is clear, my track record is clear, and as some of the young people say, my receipts are good. And so that is one of the reasons that I'm being attacked. I don't feel like a victim because the target changes with each election cycle, and I happen to be the new target. But I'm a big target because I have a big support and a great following, and so I don't mind. Actually, I'm pretty proud that people would see me as such a strong candidate that they would have to spend money on fake robocalls and send out tens of thousands of emails making up stuff because they are that threatened. Clearly someone is investing a lot of money in trying to stop my candidacy. And my question to whoever that is what are you afraid of? Are you afraid that you will not get the keys to the kingdom or be able to break the city piggy bank? I just don't understand. Why such an effort? If you're a good candidate, promote yourself. If you're a weak candidate, continue to attack me without basis and without proof.
Now let's talk a little bit about the financial status of Mount Vernon. There is a huge deficit in Mount Vernon. There is monies that have not been accounted for. Prior administration, millions of loans. There is allegations of records stolen from the City Hall in order to take those records out of the City Hall. How do you see that? How would you address those uncollected or bad loans that the Mount Vernon gave?
Well, I can speak directly to part of the loan situation because I had to look at that for the 8 months that I was in the planning department and urban renewal agency. Loans have been given out for years in the Urban Renewal Agency, home loans or rehabilitation loans. Those are all monies that come from HUD. Some of the loans go back to 1999. These loans, there are many loans that go all the way back to 1999. We've had people we've given loans to and turned around and they didn't pay, and 10 years later gave them more money.
To the same people that didn't pay the first
To some of the same people who didn't pay the first time. So I have records of all of those loans. And as the planning commissioner and the urban renewal director, I chose not to dismiss those loans. And as we investigated those loans, we found out, unfortunately, maybe years prior, due to negligence or lack of staffing, that some of those loans had never even been filed for in the county clerk's office. And so it's going to be very hard to go back and collect on those loans because you never filed them with the county clerk. But I had refused to dismiss any of those loans until we were able to do our due diligence in investigating each and every loan. And unfortunately, I was walked out before I had an opportunity to finish them. But there are a lot of loans that have gone unpaid over a 1999, I said, is the oldest loan, so almost 30 years.
Almost 30 years.
Almost 30 years of loans that have been uncollected.
We might not be able to collect those loans, but we can point out who benefited from those loans, and if those who benefit from those loans were connected to people who were inside the city hall at that time. Any connections?
Well, like I said, it's over a 30-year period. And
but you investigated
30
that.
years ago, I was in high school. Yeah, I can't say if there were personal connections, because I don't think that would be fair, because I didn't investigate the personal connections. But I did investigate the fact that there were people who were giving more than one loan who had never paid back the first loan. So I don't know why people made the decisions that they did at those times, but unfortunately, they are decisions that did not benefit Mount Vernon. And with some of these loans, there is an unfortunate loophole. There's an unfortunate loophole that allows people not to pay back some of these loans. And people have become educated on how to utilize those loopholes to the detriment of Mount Vernon.
Is there anything that perhaps I did not ask you, but you want to bring it up to the people of Mount Vernon to help them? Because there is tons of people that they don't vote based on policy. They don't vote based on who can do a better job. They don't vote based on anything that really matters. They vote based on who I like, who can do a favor for me, who can probably get me a job in the city hall. Anything that you want to bring up, your floor.
I mean, the mayoral race is not a popularity contest. We really have to look at ensuring that we choose a leader that is competent and that is focused on the overall improvement of Mount Vernon. The mayor's office cannot be used as your platform to gain position and power, but it needs to be used as a platform to ensure that the people are served, that our quality of life, our day-to-day quality of life improves. Our streets are bad, our sewers are bad. Memorial Field has been closed for 9 years. That's inexcusable as people continue to toss the political football and focus on what their plan was. That should have been something like a relay race. You started the project, I'm going to take it to the next level, and I complete it. But with each subsequent mayor, they stopped the project, started their own project, or tried to reverse what was done by the former mayor. And that's unfortunate. The focus has to be on the residents of Mount Vernon and what's best for the residents of Mount Vernon. And as someone who served the community in different capacities, that's something that I've consistently done. It's been about service. It hasn't been about ego. It's been about service, not about power. It's been about service, not about getting my way. And so I want to become mayor, not to become powerful, but to use whatever influence and power that I might gain to serve the community of Mount Vernon. Our taxpayers deserve it. Our children deserve it. Our seniors deserve it. It's important. We're at a critical crossroads. And if we do not choose the right leader to take us into the future, we will continue to make the mistakes of our past, and we will continue to go backwards, because standing still while everyone is moving forward is going backwards.
I agree. Lots of people also complain. Natural complainers. Oh, mayor should have done this mayor should have done that. A whole bunch of complaints. But they don't understand the power that they have when election time comes. You know, maybe you want to educate, for the lack of a better term, how important it is to come out on election day and vote for the person they think it's the best person for the job. Just talking about it does not cut it.
Absolutely. Our primary is at a different time this year. People are used to primaries in September, but the primary is actually June 25th. And so we want to make sure that people are coming out to vote on June 25th, that they're educating their friends, and that education has to start now. We need to get people excited and engaged about the future possibilities of Mount Vernon. We can't just look to elect someone and feel that person's going to change everything, but how do we engage our citizens now? And like you said, educate them. Educate them about going out to city council meetings, but then also educate them about the absentee ballot. If there are people who are going to be out of town or they can't get out to vote for one reason or another, you can vote through absentee ballot. So, you know, don't discount yourself. There are other people who feel that they're disenfranchised voters and that they can't vote because they've had a felony or two. You have to check, because usually if you've served your time and you're off of probation or parole, your voting rights will be restored unless you have certain criminal offenses or a certain number of them. But that's something we have to look at for people and help them understand. Don't take yourself out of the voting game, because we have a lot of people in this race, and a few votes are going to make a difference. This is not a national election. Politics are local. Your garbage being picked up is local. The safety of your community is decided based on who the leader of your local community is. The relationship with the school district. I'm the mayor, I'd be the mayor, not the superintendent, but whoever sits in that seat has to have a strong relationship with our education system, which receives the lion's share of our tax dollars. And so you need a mayor who is an educational advocate and who is committed to focusing on education, because education is the greatest equalizer. It's the greatest equalizer in helping people who are impoverished change their situation. If we're not educating generations of children, then they're going to stay in poverty. If we don't have a plan to help our adults become skilled and prepared for the workforce, then they're going to stay in poverty. And not just gaining skills, but even those soft skills, learning how to work with people, showing up on time, managing your finances. Those are things that we also have to make sure that we're helping our citizens become stronger about. And this is the work that's done in local government. Folks are focused on the 2020 election of the White House. That's important, but national elections will not impact your day-to-day life on the level that local politics will. All politics are local, and so your local elections are your most critical.
Shawyn, now just to end up this interview, I want to bring something that I think it's very important to you. And I know this not because I interviewed you in the past, but things that I know about you. Social justice and injustice, it's a very serious issue to you.
Yes.
In Mount Vernon, do you think we have that problem? We know we have it all over the country, but we talk about Mount Vernon.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I mean, people think social justice is just about race, and it's not just about race. We can have Black elected officials or brown elected officials. It doesn't always mean that they are competent and focused on social justice. We have to make sure that our police department is operating well and that they're trained well, so that the citizens of Mount Vernon will be respected and treated well. And that's not something that we can assume just because you have Black leadership. We have to make sure that there is economic equity, that everyone in the community has equal opportunities to benefit financially in our community. We can't assume that just because we have Black and brown faces in office. So yes, I have been a social justice person all of my life. I've seen people impoverished, and so someone said to me the other day, well, I'm just excited because Mount Vernon is the Blackest community in Westchester. I said, well, explain that to me, because I need to know how we've really benefited as a Black community over the past 20 years. We have one of the lowest performing school districts. We continue to have one of the highest rates of crime, even though it's, saying that it's getting better. And there's still a perception of Mount Vernon as a city that is not the Queen Star of Westchester. So we can, I think it's great that we have representative government, ethnically representative government, but we need to make sure that we're making the best decisions for the community and not a few people are benefiting. Because if all of the decisions were being made in respect to the community, Mount Vernon should not be so far behind the rest of Westchester.
Now, the controller, Ms. Reynolds, right?
Yes.
Deborah Reynolds?
Deborah Reynolds.
If you were to win, you will have to work with her for the short term, correct? Until her next election.
Well, yes, her next election is in 2 years, and if she wins in 2 years, then I
If-
have to work with her for
Exactly.
4 or more.
Exactly. How do you see the situation that is going on in Mount Vernon right now with the, I don't know if I would say refusal to pay, because I really don't have any concrete evidence, but the allegations of refusing to pay for toilet paper for the seniors, vendors that are not being paid, services that Mount Vernon needs, infrastructure, cleaning the snow, garbage, trucks that need to be repaired. How do you think, or how do you see you working with the current controller?
Well, I can tell you this. In every situation, I've been taught since I was a kid, there's your side, there's their side, and there's the truth. So right now, we're just hearing sides. And because I'm not on the inside, I can't tell you exactly what the truth is. But the impact is that bills are not being paid. I can't say if she's just not paying them or they're not being presented on time. I really can't say. But I can say that if I become mayor, I would sit down with the controller and we would make sure that we have a system in place for how and ensuring that bills are sent to the controller's office in a timely manner, and that when checks are sent up to the mayor's office, that they're signed off on in a timely manner, and that there are strict, firm, and what they call generally accepted accounting principles are in place. Because there's policies and procedures. If we have policies and procedures in place that are clear and that are followed, there's not as much space for there to be a battle of personalities. People in City Hall have strong personalities, but we do have to sit down and work together. And the personalities have taken front stage, and the work of the city has taken backstage again to the victimization of the community.
Well, and with this one, we're going to end our interview. Thank you to Shawyn Patterson Howard.
And thank you for taking out the time to interview me.
Candidate for Mount Vernon Mayor, you decide.
We're still collecting signatures through the weekend, through Sunday, and please, if you see us out there, sign our petitions. We want to make sure that we get on the ballot with a clear mandate for change. And additionally, please remember June 25th is primary day. We're looking for your support. And if you're interested in volunteering, go to SPH for Mayor at Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, or ShawynPattersonHoward.com, or call my campaign manager, Robin Mack, at 914-800-7010. Thank you so much, Ruth.
Thank you. So you guys have all the information necessary. We're going to try to interview the other candidates. Then you have food for thought. You got all the information that's necessary, and then you decide who is going to get your vote. Stay tuned for more.
Have a good one.